So Superman spoilers, let's just dive right into it. So the big thing that I had a problem with was the whole Krypton message. Now, I was waiting the whole movie for it to be revealed that yes, it was actually doctored, or the fact that these language experts really couldn't translate Kryptonian correctly because Krypton exists so far away from our planet. Maybe the language structure is far different than what we understand. I was waiting for something like that, or for the, inevitable end to happen, and we get Kal-El sitting in his Fortress of Solitude, and the robots are like, hey, we recovered the whole message. Do you want to see it? But instead, it does really kind of feel like this is it for that. Like, they are making the Kryptonians the message he receives from Jor-El and Lara. This message of like, yeah, go and rule them, start new Krypton, go take over, have this harem, as they say in the film, marry 20 wives and have all your Kryptonian kids and restart Krypton. That the movie wants you to think that's actually still the case, because the way it ends, which I frankly thought was really beautiful with the way it ends, with him sitting there accepting that I'm a human now, like I feel human. I thought all of that was really, really effective, because the best scene for me, and I know I'm jumping around, but the best scene for me by far of the film was the one where he confronts Lex right at the end, and he's like, I'm as human as everybody. You've got this wrong. You keep calling me alien, but I'm as human as anyone. I wake up every day and just try to do my best and make the best decisions I can. I have all this power, but I need to think about and make the best decisions for me that I possibly can. And I struggle with those decisions every day. And I thought that was extremely powerful. It absolutely hit to the core of who Superman is. He's this godlike being, but yes, he's still raised by humans. The best parts of him are human, and he feels like a human feels. And I thought all of that worked for, especially for general audiences, connecting people to Superman, because so many people have said over the years, I can't relate to Superman, he's just too stoic and he's too good and he's too perfect. This movie showed you he wasn't perfect, not just with him getting beat up, but it showed you that emotionally he's still always trying to figure it out. And it's a lot to be having that weight put on you, that you're this savior, everybody's expecting you to save the day, but sometimes you don't know what's the right thing to do. And I love Lex's response to that, the way he gets into Superman's face and they have this conversation. They're eye to eye, head to head. That is Lex and Superman to me. So that worked. But back to the Krypton thing. Bradley Cooper's Jor-El was fun. And I'm assuming, so Supergirl, we know it's going to be in space and planet hopping. And Supergirl makes an appearance at the end of this film. And she's apparently been, drinking and having fun on other planets that have red suns so that she can get drunk. I mean, Millie Alcock looks perfect as Supergirl, so I'm very excited to see where that goes, especially what the comic is based off of. And Craig Gillespie, who is so underrated as a director. Watch I, Tonya. It's such a great movie. But anyway, with that going into space, I'm assuming it will probably deal with more stuff from Krypton as well. I don't think it's going to be a one-to-one exact translation of the comic book. I think it's going to deal with a lot of Kryptonian stuff. I do think maybe in that you get some types of slight retcons to like, oh no, the message was tampered with and Jor-El and Lara were actually the good guys, because we know we're going to get stuff about Kara's parents as well. So in that, do they show flashbacks to Krypton? Is that where we get our Krypton stuff? Is that where we get to actually see Krypton? Because obviously Kara was sent to Earth a lot older than Kal-El in order to protect him, but then her ship gets stuck. She doesn't make it to Earth until Kal-El's already fully grown, so she is raised, obviously, on Krypton. Will we see those things translate? Are we going to get to see those Kryptonian flashbacks in Supergirl? I think that's a strong possibility. And if we do get that, then do we get some Jor-El and Lara stuff? Do we learn that they had some ulterior motives for Superman? Or do we get Krypton and it actually is like, no, everybody's kind of a jerk and they do just want Kal-El to rule over all these people? I think Supergirl is actually what makes or breaks this plotline. I mean, maybe it won't be handled in Supergirl and they'll save it for maybe a Superman 2. The other thing I was thinking was if they do General Zod one day, so much of the Zod and Kal-El conflict is really an ideological conflict between Jor-El and Zod, and I feel like you have to actually obviously relate to Jor-El and like Jor-El in order for the Zod versus Superman thing to work. You got to know more about Jor-El and about the Kryptonians. So I think this will come back up again, but as where it sits, I wasn't a huge fan of like making them villains in some sort of way, or at least making them kind of misguided. It's not something that really impacts my overall opinion of the film, because I think the film, obviously all these movies are Elseworlds, they're not one-to-one adaptations of the comics, but the film just uses that kind of as another thing to push with Luthor, and you can't trust anything Luthor does. So even though it makes the message look like it's real, even though Superman feels that it's real, even though they say a bunch of times it's real, as an audience member, I can't fully trust that it actually is real. So that was my only real like comic book and lore problem with the film. Other than that, I thought all the comic book stuff was the best part. The way they connect and just embrace the personalities of Guy Gardner, of Ma and Pa Kent, of Krypto, of Superman, of Lex, of Lois. The Jimmy Olsen stuff was really funny, having Eve Tessmacher back. We can also talk about Ultraman. I'm assuming from the way this ends, with Ultraman falling into this black hole, I have a feeling he's going to become the Ultraman from the comics, the evil Superman. He's going to start his crime syndicate. Maybe we do that in a Justice League movie. Maybe we do that in another style film, maybe not quite a Justice League movie, or maybe some type of spin-off Justice League movie. We're not sure yet how they're going to handle Justice League and all the different team-ups that are across DC. Will it be more like phase 1 through 3 Marvel, where like the Justice League movies are the big events that keep progressing the main plot forward until we ultimately have like our dark side plot? Or will the Justice League movies just be these exciting team-up movies, and they'll also kind of hint at things, but you might have 4 or 5 before you get Darkseid, or Darkseid might just appear in the second one. But I imagine they are setting up the crime syndicate, and with him falling into black hole, you don't see him die. I'm assuming we are going to get the true traditional comic Ultraman, even if now it's not just another universe's version of Superman, it's a clone of Superman, but maybe he goes to that universe and he'll meet Owlman, he'll meet Power Ring, he'll meet Superwoman, and then we'll get that. I think that's what they're also setting up there. I wouldn't expect it in Superman 2. I think it's something they've left now open that they can do in the future, so I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't mind the way they used Ultraman. He ultimately wasn't that interesting, and if you were familiar with Ultraman at all in the comics, that kind of twist, if you want to call it that, wasn't surprising whatsoever. I also did think it was kind of funny. I don't know if it was a wink and a nod to Superman 4, but Lex saying that he cloned Superman via a strand of his hair I felt like maybe a little bit of a nod to Superman 4, where Lex Luthor gets his Superman cuttable bolt cutters and cuts off a strand of Superman's hair in that museum to create a nuclear man. So I don't know, maybe that was an allusion to that. Let's talk about that other big spoiler with the Hall of Justice appearing. So the Justice Gang, funded by Maxwell Lord, is stationed in the Hall of Justice. Both cool and I thought a little bit too far. First off, so we know, obviously, if you're a DC fan, you know that the Justice League originally did not include Batman or Superman. It was Martian Manhunter, Flash, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman. And so I don't inherently have a problem with like the pre-Superman version of the Justice League being in Hall of Justice. And right now they're the Justice Gang, but really obviously they're supposed to be kind of based on an amalgamation of Justice League International as well as a little bit of JSA. So I don't inherently have a problem with them being in the Hall of Justice, and it's obviously still under construction. I mean, it was amazing to see that. When we saw it for the first time, I was like, oh my God, are they going to show some other major characters here? Like, are we getting Hal Jordan or something? No, it's just pretty much empty, and the Justice Gang sitting in there while they are still remodeling or refurbishing or constructing it from the inside. And you got some great moments with Guy Gardner there, who was awesome. He was perfect. I love the haircut. I can't wait to see him get maybe his true Green Lantern outfit here. And I also would have liked to see them go a little bit more into the Maxwell Lord stuff. The fact that these heroes were sponsored by Maxwell Lord, and we only get just one little clip at the end of Max Lord commenting on Lex Luthor's arrest and saying like, yeah, I mean, we can all agree that Lex Luthor sucks. Like, that was a fun little moment, but I would have liked to see a little bit more about Max Lord and kind of see how and why he's sponsoring superheroes and see how that plays into the future. Obviously, we'll get that more later. But yeah, seeing the Hall of Justice was really, really cool. And I cannot wait for a Justice League movie. A lot of this movie just got my gears going, and like that dormant passion for DC that's been there just through all these really terrible movies over the years. So I'll take any bit of Green Lantern I can get. The middle finger punching that he does at the end of the movie, that was so much fun. I loved the few scenes of Hawkgirl we got. I wanted a lot more of Hawkgirl, but I mean, not everybody can have time. I do feel like this movie has a 3-hour cut somewhere. It does feel like a lot of the extraneous stuff was cut to center around Superman, which was probably the smart decision, because it feels like there's more stuff with the Justice Gang there. It feels like there's more stuff with maybe Max Lord there, maybe some more stuff with Ma and Pa Kent there, some more Jimmy Olsen. I feel like Jimmy Olsen stuff maybe was cut a little bit, maybe a little bit of Lois Lane stuff. Perry White was like almost invisible in this movie. Maybe they cut some of that stuff. I'm sure they'll release deleted scenes. Will they ever release an extended cut of the movie? Probably not, but maybe one day we could see that. But yeah, I wanted a little bit more from Hawkgirl, but what we got was good. I think Isabella Merced plays a good Hawkgirl. I just can't wait to see her actually get some time to shine. I'm a big fan of the Hawks. I really like Hawkman as well. Let's talk about Metamorpho a little bit. I thought he was used all right in this movie, but out of the 4 non-Superman characters, to me, he was the one that felt the most out of place. Using him as a substitute for Kryptonite, I thought was very cool. I like that Kryptonite already exists in the world at this point, and at this point, like Lex says, it is gone from the world. The only thing they have left is Metamorpho, so I kind of like that it's well known that Superman's weak to that, but there isn't enough around, and Lex is trying to actively find alternatives to that. It's a very Lex Luthor thing to do. He would definitely imprison Metamorpho in a pocket universe and trap his son. Metamorpho himself just felt like he kind of came out of nowhere, like contributing to the movie. He's just like, all of a sudden, he's like, oh, yep, save my son. I found his turn a little quick. Like, did he not know that Lex Luthor kills people? He has all these people imprisoned in boxes right next to you. Like, what do you think he was gonna do? But I did love seeing his powers in action, and he was a fun character. Maybe used for laughs a bit too much, but it's another character that's kind of hard to take too seriously. I know that will be a point of contention for a lot of people. There was a lot of comedy in this. To me, it wasn't over the top comedy. Like, I didn't think any of the stuff in this was like eye rolling. Like, there were moments where they could have put the eye rolling Marvel humor that breaks up a dramatic scene for a joke, and I didn't think they did that in any of the important scenes. So I didn't mind the way he was used and that he was in it. He just felt like he was the most random inclusion, where at least the other 3 were like these contemporaries of Superman. He knows them, they all know his secret identity, all that stuff. That bit with Guy Gardner was so funny about knowing he's Clark Kent. So with all that being said, I'm probably forgetting a few things, but this just really embraced the spirit of DC Comics. It embraced the joy and the love that's there. Batman is dark, but not everything has to be dark. And then in the post Dark Knight Rises world, we just fell into this pit of everything needing to be gloomy and dark and depressing. And this is really what the vibrant DC Comics are. And I loved seeing this. I just loved seeing it brought to life. It's a movie that I think has incredible pieces. Like, every little piece of this movie I did pretty much love. It's just the whole, like, the way the plot flows from scene to scene to scene. It's not always perfect. Nonetheless, DC is back, and we have DC movies coming out again. And we got Supergirl. I'm hoping we get the next few off the ground too, because I was looking at that DC slate again. How many of these things are actually going to exist? Because there are so many random projects they announced, like The Authority. Like, where does that fit in this? I would rather just see Batman, Superman, Supergirl, Wonder Woman. Let's get these things off the ground. Let's get the Flash going. We got Lanterns coming out next year, but I want to see the Green Lanterns in film as well. Let's get Martian Manhunter going. Like, let's do our Justice League. Let's really get into this world. Let's make the world fully realized, and then we can go wild with some of the random things that are in the DC universe that most people don't. We can't just drag our feet right now on where we are. We can't rest on our laurels, and I feel like we're going to hear a lot more from them with announcements. Like, they've been so focused on Superman, and rightly so. This needs to be a good movie, and it is, and people are loving it. We're getting Supergirl next year. Hopefully soon we hear about what's coming in 2027 or maybe end of 2026, and we can get our Batman Brave and the Bold going. We can get our Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman seems to be the one that is actively moving. Like, it sounds like they're really working on that, and James Gunn said that they aren't going to greenlight movies until they're 100% certain on a script. I love that approach for the quality, but for the quantity, sometimes you need to push push. You don't want to string people along for years and have the kind of Marvel problem or TV problem nowadays with streaming, where it's like people are waiting 3, 4, 5 years for a sequel. Like Superman 2 needs to get fast tracked and be out by 2028 at the latest. We can't be waiting 5 years for a sequel to these movies. So hopefully they get both the quality and the quantity approach going again, like Marvel in its heyday. What did you think of the film? Again, let me know your favorite spoilery moments in the comments. Were there a few I missed? Because I'm trying to remember everything in my head. I didn't write anything down, so I'm trying to remember everything in my head after only seeing it one time. Let me know if I missed anything in the comments you guys wanted to talk about. Thank you so much for watching this. And again, if you want to see me cover more movies, let me know. I see pretty much every big release that comes out, as well as most of the critically acclaimed films. So I'm really into movies. If you want to see more movie reviews, let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.